The war officially ended 3 days after the Battle of Vethros Prime. The High Speaker resigned in disgrace, replaced by a council of representatives from multiple species. The Vethrani would remain important members of the Galactic Council, but they would no longer rule it alone. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had forced that change. Admiral Kang Tae walked through the Memorial Garden on Earth. It was a new place, built to honor those who had died in the war. Thousands of names were carved into black stone walls. Lieutenant Han Rin's name was there, along with all the pilots from her squadron. 3,412 names in total, each one a person who had given everything for humanity's future. Dr. Yoon Hai found him there. She looked tired but relieved. The Council has agreed to the new charter. All species will have equal voting rights. The classification system is abolished. Humans have full access to all trade routes and colonization rights. We won everything we fought for. At what cost? Kang asked, looking at the names on the wall. A necessary one, Hai replied gently. I wish we could have found another way. I truly do. But sometimes peace requires proving you can't be pushed around. We tried for 50 years to earn respect through patience. It didn't work. So we earned it through strength. Kang nodded slowly. I'm retiring. The fleet needs younger leadership. People like Hyun who understand how to work with our new allies, not just how to fight enemies. What will you do? Hai asked. Teach at the military academy. Make sure future officers understand that this war was about defense, not conquest. The moment we become the bullies we fought against, we failed. Across the galaxy, the reaction to humanity's victory was mixed. Some species celebrated, glad to be free from Vethrani dominance. Others worried about this new military power. But most simply watched and wondered what would come next. Commodore Lee Hyun became the youngest admiral in human history. At 34 years old, he was given command of the new Joint Fleet, a military force combining human Kelran and Dostari ships. His first mission was peaceful, mapping regions of space that had never been properly explored. Standing on the bridge of his new flagship, the Unity, Hyun thought about Lieutenant Han Rin. She had sacrificed herself to save others. That's what had won them respect in the end. Not just their ability to fight, but their willingness to protect the weak and honor their values even in war. Admiral, we're receiving a message from the Vethrani government, his communications officer reported. They're requesting permission to send an observer on our exploration mission. Hyun smiled. Permission granted. Tell them we'd be honored to have them aboard. Commander Park Dae had also changed roles. He was now humanity's chief ambassador to the Reformed Council. Working alongside Dr. Hay, he helped write new laws that would govern all species fairly. It was slow work requiring patience and compromise. But after 6 months of war, Park had plenty of experience with difficult challenges. The Vethrani were adapting too. Many of them were angry about their defeat and loss of status. But others, especially younger Vethrani, saw it as an opportunity. They had been taught their entire lives that they were superior. Now they had to learn to see other species as equals. It was a hard adjustment. A young Vethrani diplomat named Vex approached Park after one council session. I must apologize for my species' behavior, Vex said. We were arrogant. We believed our age and technology made us better than everyone else. You taught us otherwise, Park shook his head. We don't need apologies. We need partners. The galaxy is huge and dangerous. There are threats out there worse than any of our wars. We should be working together to face those threats, not fighting each other over pride. Engineer Kim Yule's weapons designs became the basis for new defense systems shared among allied species. But Kim insisted on strict controls. The technology could never be used for conquest, only defense. Any species that violated that rule would lose access immediately. Some human companies wanted to profit from the military technology. They saw opportunities to sell weapons to the highest bidder. But Earth's government refused. We didn't fight this war to become arms dealers, the president said in a public address. We fought to create a better, more equal galaxy. That means being responsible with our power. Human culture began spreading across council space in ways that surprised everyone. Aliens were fascinated by Earth's history of conflict and survival. Human music, with its emotional intensity, became popular on dozens of worlds. Human sports, with their emphasis on individual achievement and team cooperation, attracted alien fans. Human food was especially interesting to aliens. Most council species ate bland, nutritious paste or simple plant matter. Human cooking, developed over thousands of years across many cultures, was complex and flavorful. Restaurants serving Korean, Indian, Italian, and Japanese cuisine opened on alien worlds. But the biggest impact was philosophical. Humans had a saying, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." Most council species didn't understand it at first. They had lived easy lives on peaceful worlds. Hardship was something to avoid at all costs. Humans saw hardship differently. They had been shaped by challenges, by struggle, by barely surviving on a planet that tried to kill them. That experience had made them resilient, creative, and determined. Now other species were learning to value those qualities too. Ambassador Choi Sora gave a speech at the dedication of the new council headquarters. The building was designed by a human architect working with alien engineers. It combined styles from dozens of species, symbolizing the new era of cooperation. "We never wanted war," Sora said to the gathered representatives. "We wanted only to be heard, to be valued, to be treated as equals." Some called us violent, some called us dangerous. They weren't wrong, but they forgot that violence is a tool, not an identity. We chose restraint for 50 years. When we finally acted, we did so with precision and mercy. She gestured to the building around them. "This structure represents what we can build together, not through domination, but through cooperation." The Vethrani contributed their knowledge of energy systems. The Kelran provided materials science. The Dostari designed the environmental controls, and humans provided the vision of a place where all species could meet as equals. Sora's voice grew stronger. "This is humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not our weapons, not our endurance, but our refusal to become the oppressors we fought against. We proved that strength and compassion are not opposites. We proved that Deathworlders can be warriors without being monsters. And we proved that respect must be earned, never just assumed based on age or technology." The applause was universal, coming from species that had once mocked humanity. 5 years after the war, a new generation was growing up in a changed galaxy. Human children attended schools on alien worlds. Alien children visited Earth to learn about the death world that had forged such a unique species. One such child was Li Jin, named after the pilot who had fought in the final battle. She was 12 years old and attending the Council Youth Assembly on the rebuilt station above Vethros Prime. She sat among alien children, some who looked like plants, others like insects, a few like nothing humans had ever imagined. A Vethrani elder approached the human children with curiosity. He was old enough to remember the war, to remember when his species ruled the council. "You are from Earth?" he asked Jin. Jin nodded. "Yes, sir." "I fought in the war against your people," the elder said quietly. "I lost friends in the battle above my homeworld. I was angry for a long time. Angry that we lost, angry that everything changed." Jin didn't know what to say. She had learned about the war in school, but this was different. This was someone who had lived through it, the elder continued. "But now I understand. We needed to lose. We had become arrogant. We had forgotten that power without wisdom is just tyranny. Your people reminded us of that. You gave us a gift, though it didn't feel like one at the time. You gave us the chance to be better." He extended his long hand to Jin, offering a traditional Vethrani greeting of respect. Jin remembered her grandfather's stories. Admiral Kang had taught her that holding grudges helped no one. Peace required forgiveness from both sides. She took the elder's hand and smiled. "My grandfather says the war is over. Now we build the future together." The elder smiled, something few humans had ever seen a Vethrani do. "Your grandfather is wise. Come, let me show you our cultural center. I think you'll find our history fascinating." From a viewing platform high above, Dr. Yoon Hai watched the children mixing together, learning from each other. She stood next to Admiral Kang, who had come out of retirement for this ceremony. "Do you think it will last?" he asked. "This peace we built?" Kang watched his granddaughter laughing with alien children. "Nothing lasts forever. There will be new challenges, new conflicts, but we've shown the galaxy a better way. We've proven that different species can work together as equals. That's a foundation strong enough to build on." "I hope you're right," Hai said. "I know I am," Kang replied, "because humans don't give up. We survived on a world that tried to kill us every day. We survived first contact with aliens who treated us like children. We survived a war against a force that outnumbered us 7-1. We'll survive whatever comes next, and we'll help our allies survive too." But if we win, the war ends. The Vethrani will have no choice, but the plan was risky. Some would say it was insane. Vethros Prime sat at the heart of Council space. Protected by 3,000 warships, 12 orbital defense platforms, and planetary shield generators that could withstand a sustained bombardment for months, no one had ever successfully attacked it. No one had even tried. Admiral Kang Tae stood before his senior officers in the war room. Maps and tactical displays filled the walls. Commander Park Dae looked worried. Engineer Kim Yul was running calculations on his tablet. Commodore Lee Hyun seemed eager, almost excited. Ambassador Choi Sora had joined them, representing the civilian government. This isn't about revenge, Kang explained. This is about ending the war. If we can break their defenses, show them they're vulnerable in their own capital, they'll have no choice but to negotiate real peace. Park shook his head. And if we fail, we'll lose most of our fleet. Earth will be defenseless. We're already committed, Sora said quietly. We crossed the line when we fired the first shot. Either we win this war completely, or we lose everything. There's no middle ground anymore, Hyun stepped forward. The Vethrani think we're desperate. They think we'll make mistakes because we're emotional and primitive. We use that. We make them believe we're attacking somewhere else, then hit them where it hurts. Kim nodded. I finished the new plasma weapons. They'll cut through their shields like paper, but we need to get close enough to use them. That's the hard part. The plan came together over the next week. A large human force would attack Vethrani installations in the outer sectors, drawing away ships from the capital. Then the main assault fleet would jump to Vethros Prime and strike before reinforcements could return. Speed and surprise were everything. Dr. Yoon Hai met with Kang the night before the attack. She looked older than her years, worn down by the weight of war. Promise me something, she said. Promise me that if we win, we won't become conquerors. We fight for freedom, not for power. You have my word, Kang replied. We'll break their fleet, prove our point, and leave. No occupation. No revenge attacks on civilians. We're better than that, Hay nodded slowly. Good, because the galaxy is watching. How we win matters as much as whether we win. The first phase began. Commander Park led 800 ships in attacks across 3 sectors. The Vethrani took the bait. They pulled 1,500 ships from the capital defense to respond to what looked like humanity's final offensive. That left 1,800 ships defending Vethros Prime. Still overwhelming odds, but better than 3,000. Admiral Kang's assault fleet consisted of 700 ships. It was the largest force humanity had ever assembled in one place. Every captain had volunteered. Every crew member knew this might be a one-way trip. But they went anyway, because that's what humans did. They faced impossible odds and fought anyway. The fleet jumped into hyperspace. The journey would take 6 hours. Hyun walked through his ship, talking to crew members, making sure everyone was ready. He found young pilot named Lee Jin in the fighter bay, checking her ship for the 3rd time. Nervous? Hyun asked. Jin nodded. I keep thinking about Lieutenant Han Rin. She was my instructor. She taught me that being brave doesn't mean not being afraid. It means being afraid and doing it anyway. She was right, Hyun said. Fear keeps you sharp. It keeps you alive. Use it. They jumped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Vethros system. Alarms immediately blared on every Vethrani ship. 1,800 warships began moving to intercept. The orbital platforms powered up their massive weapons. On the planet's surface, billions of Vethrani watched in disbelief. Humans were actually attacking their homeworld. All ships, this is Admiral Kang, execute Phase 2. The human fleet split into 3 groups, coming at the planet from different angles. The Vethrani fleet moved to intercept the largest group, which was exactly what Kang wanted. While they focused there, the other 2 groups accelerated at speeds that should have been impossible. Inside the Vethrani ships, crews struggled to handle the forces. Their bodies weren't built for this kind of combat. They had evolved on peaceful worlds where the biggest threat was weather. Humans had evolved hunting and being hunted. Every human pilot could handle accelerations that would kill most aliens. Commodore Hyun led a squadron of fighters directly at the orbital platforms. These platforms were massive structures, each one capable of destroying multiple capital ships. But they were also slow to turn and adjust. Fighter pilots like Lee Jin exploited that weakness. Jin's fighter dove through a gap in the platform's shields. She was flying so close to the structure that her wings almost scraped the metal. She fired her missiles at the shield generator and pulled up hard. The explosion behind her destroyed the generator. The platform's shields flickered and died. Human capital ships immediately focused fire on the exposed platform. Engineer Kim's plasma weapons tore into it, melting through armor like it was paper. The platform broke apart, massive pieces tumbling toward the planet's atmosphere below. But the Vethrani weren't done. Their fleet regrouped and pushed back hard. Energy beams filled space. Missiles crossed paths with each other. Ships on both sides exploded. The battle turned into chaos, exactly the kind of environment where humans thrived. Commander Park's group had a specific mission. They were to board and capture 3 orbital defense platforms from the inside. It was a crazy idea. Council warfare didn't include boarding actions. You destroyed ships, you didn't try to take them over. But humans had different ideas. Park's Marines used small assault craft to approach the platforms. The Vethrani defenders didn't know how to respond. They fired at the craft, but humans could take hits that would destroy normal assault vessels. They crashed directly into docking bays and airlocks, forcing entry through sheer determination. The fighting inside was brutal. Vethrani security forces tried to stop the Marines, but they were outmatched. Human soldiers could fight hand-to-hand in ways aliens couldn't. They were stronger, faster, more aggressive. Within 2 hours, Park's forces controlled 3 platforms. "Turn them around," Park ordered. "Target the Vethrani fleet." The captured platforms opened fire on the Vethrani ships. The aliens couldn't believe it. Their own defenses were shooting at them. Confusion spread through their ranks. Some ships didn't know who to shoot at. The organized defense collapsed into disorder. Admiral Kang pressed the advantage. His ships pushed deeper into the system, targeting command vessels and communication ships. The Vethrani fleet tried to adapt, but human tactics were too unpredictable. Every time the aliens thought they understood the pattern, humans changed it. The battle raged for 18 hours. It was the longest sustained combat any species had seen in centuries. Human crews fought through exhaustion and injuries. They kept going when any other species would have surrendered. That endurance, forged on a high-gravity death world, was the difference between victory and defeat. Finally, the Vethrani fleet broke. They retreated toward the planet's surface, trying to get under the planetary shields. But those shields were designed to keep attacks out, not to let ships in while under fire. The retreat turned into a disaster. Ships collided with each other. Some were destroyed by friendly fire. The organized fleet became a panicked mob. Kang's fleet surrounded the planet. The orbital defenses were destroyed or captured. The Vethrani fleet was shattered. The planet lay defenseless below, billions of civilians looking up at human ships that could destroy everything they had. Built Admiral Kang opened a communication, channeled directly to Vethros Prime. His image appeared on every screen in the capital city. "High Speaker, your fleet is broken. Your defenses are gone. By your own council laws, we could claim this world as conquest. We could bombard your cities. We could make you feel the same helplessness you've forced on others for thousands of years." He paused, letting the words sink in. "But we won't. We're not conquerors. We didn't start this war for power. We started it for respect, for the right to exist as equals. You can give us that now, or we can continue until there's nothing left of your empire. Choose." The transmission ended. Admiral Kang ordered the fleet to pull back to a defensive perimeter. They would wait for the Vethrani response. On Earth, billions watched and held their breath. In the captured platforms, Park's Marines secured their positions. On the Defiant, Hyun and his crew counted their losses. 300 ships had been destroyed, thousands of crew members dead, but they had won. The High Speaker appeared on communication screens an hour later. He looked old and defeated. "We accept your terms. The Council will meet to discuss new treaties. The war is over. Humanity had won, not through conquest, but through proving they couldn't be dismissed anymore. The galaxy would never look at Deathworlders the same way again." News of the Arcturus victory spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. Alien news networks played the battle footage over and over. They analyzed every second, trying to understand how the primitive humans had defeated a superior Vethrani force. Military experts from dozens of species appeared on shows, all saying the same thing. This changes everything. 3 council species declared neutrality within 24 hours. They sent quiet messages to Earth saying they would not support the Vethrani in this conflict. 2 more species went further. They secretly contacted Admiral Kang Tae, offering intelligence about Vethrani fleet movements and supply lines. They were tired of Vethrani dominance and saw humanity's rebellion as an opportunity. But the Vethrani weren't ready to accept defeat. The High Speaker addressed the council with rage in his voice. "This embarrassment will not stand. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We will not be humiliated by primitives who only left their world 50 years ago. Send everything. Crush them completely." The problem was that humanity didn't fight like the Vethrani expected. Council warfare was organized and predictable. Fleets met in open space, exchanged fire until one side retreated, and then peace negotiations began. Wars were usually won by whoever had more ships or better technology. It was almost civilized. Human warfare was nothing like that. Humans had spent thousands of years fighting each other on Earth. They had developed tactics in countless wars, each one more brutal than the last. They knew how to exploit weakness. They knew how to strike where the enemy was vulnerable. They knew how to win even when outnumbered. Commander Park Day led a small task force to attack a Vethrani supply depot in the Kepler system. The depot was protected by 30 warships and orbital defense platforms. Park had only 12 ships. By Council logic, he should retreat. But Park wasn't using Council logic. His ships came in fast from 3 different directions. The Vethrani defenders tried to organize a response, but Park's ships were already splitting up, moving in patterns that made no sense. Some ships flew dangerously close to asteroids, using the rocks for cover. Others accelerated directly at the defense platforms, firing missiles at point-blank range. The Vethrani crews panicked. They weren't used to enemies who attacked like this with no regard for their own safety. What they didn't understand was that human ships were built tougher. Human crews could survive impacts and accelerations that would kill aliens. Park's flagship took heavy fire. Explosions ripped through the outer hull. Alarms blared. Crew members were injured. But they kept fighting. They fought through the pain, through the fear, through conditions that would make any Council species surrender. The battle lasted 72 hours. Park's crews took combat stimulants to stay awake and alert. Council species couldn't do that. Their biology didn't allow them to function for that long without sleep. But humans, evolved to hunt prey for days across African plains, could push themselves beyond what seemed possible. When the battle ended, the supply depot was destroyed. All 30 Vethrani warships were disabled or destroyed. Park's fleet had lost 4 ships, but they had won. More importantly, they had crippled Vethrani supply lines for an entire sector. Hundreds of enemy ships would now run low on fuel and ammunition. Captain Lee Hyun was promoted to Commodore and given command of a larger strike force. His first major battle was at Kepler 442, defending a human mining colony. The Vethrani sent a fleet of 800 ships determined to make an example by destroying a civilian target. Hyun had 200 ships. The odds were terrible, but he had something the Vethrani didn't understand. He had crews who would die before letting civilians be killed. That determination made all the difference. Lieutenant Han Rin flew her fighter squadron directly into the Vethrani formation. Her pilots were outnumbered 10-1. They should have been slaughtered. Instead, they weaved through enemy fire with reflexes that seemed superhuman to the watching aliens. They targeted weak points, engines, and weapon systems, disabling ships instead of destroying them when possible. But the Vethrani fleet was too large. They pushed through toward the colony. Hyun made a desperate decision. He ordered his capital ships to form a defensive line directly between the enemy and the colony. They would absorb the attack no matter the cost. The Vethrani focused their fire on Hyun's flagship. The shields held for 30 seconds, then failed. Energy beams tore into the hull. Hyun felt the ship dying around him. He ordered all non-essential crew to evacuate while he and the bridge crew kept fighting. Lieutenant Han Rin saw what was happening. Her squadron was too far away to help. She made a choice. She accelerated her damaged fighter to maximum speed, aiming directly at the Vethrani dreadnought that was targeting Hyun's ship. Her fighter was small, but it was moving fast. Very fast. "This is Lieutenant Han Rin to all human forces," she transmitted. Her voice was calm. "Tell my family I'm proud to be human. Tell them we don't surrender. We don't retreat. We fight until there's nothing left to fight with. And we protect our own." Her fighter slammed into the dreadnought's reactor core at a significant fraction of light speed. The explosion was massive. The dreadnought and 3 nearby ships were completely destroyed. The blast wave disrupted the Vethrani formation, giving Hyun's forces time to regroup. The human fleet counterattacked with fury. They fought like cornered animals, which in a way they were, but cornered animals are the most dangerous. The Vethrani fleet broke and retreated. The colony was saved, but the cost was high. Hyun's flagship was destroyed. He barely escaped in a life pod. Hanrin was gone, along with 60 other pilots and 300 crew members. On Earth, Dr. Yoon-hai worked day and night coordinating humanitarian efforts. She argued with military leaders about tactics. Some officers wanted to strike Vethrani civilian targets to force a quick surrender. He refused to allow it. "We're proving we're warriors," she told Admiral Kang in a heated meeting. "But we also need to prove we're not monsters. If we become what they claim we are, then we've lost even if we win every battle." Kang respected her position even though he disagreed on some points. "Every day this war continues, more humans die. How many more Hanrins will we lose before you're satisfied we've been moral enough?" "As many as it takes," He replied firmly. "Because if we win this war by becoming murderers of civilians, then the galaxy was right about us. We'll have proven their worst fears true. We'll never be accepted as anything but monsters." The argument ended with a compromise. Human forces would focus on military targets only. No attacks on civilian infrastructure. No orbital bombardments of cities. It made the war harder, but it also made humanity look honorable to the neutral species watching. Then the Vethrani crossed a line. Desperate and embarrassed by their losses, they deployed a weapon that had been banned by council law for 1,000 years. A graviton disruptor that could create an artificial black hole. They targeted New Jeju, a human colony with 2 million civilians. The disruptor fired. The black hole began to form. Admiral Kang had seconds to make a decision. He ordered every nearby human capital ship to position themselves between the weapon and the colony. 7 massive warships moved into position and activated their experimental shields at maximum power. The black hole's pull was incredible. It started pulling the ships apart. Hulls groaned and buckled. Crew members were thrown around as the gravity fluctuated wildly, but they held position. They poured every bit of power into the shields, burning out systems, sacrificing the ships to save the people below. 3 ships were destroyed completely. 4 survived but were so badly damaged they would never fly again. But New Jeju survived. 2 million people lived because human crews were willing to die protecting them. The galaxy watched. This wasn't supposed to happen. Council species fought for resources, for territory, for power. They didn't sacrifice their most advanced warships to save civilians. But humans did. The contrast with the Vethrani's willingness to commit genocide was stark and powerful. 5 more council species withdrew their support from the Vethrani. 2 species, the Kelran and Dasthari, openly declared alliance with humanity. They offered bases, supplies, and their own ships to fight alongside human forces. The council was fracturing. The Vethrani's 10,000-year reign was crumbling. Commodore Hyun, recovered from his injuries and given a new ship called the Defiant, met with Admiral Kang to plan the next phase. Engineer Kim Yul presented new weapons based on combining human metallurgy with alien power systems. The plasma cannons were devastating, able to punch through any shield the Vethrani had. "We've won battles," Kang said, looking at the strategic map. "But we haven't won the war. The Vethrani still have thousands of ships. They still control most council resources. We need to do something they'll never expect. Something that will end this war decisively." "What do you have in mind?" Park asked. Kang zoomed the map to show Vethros Prime, the Vethrani homeworld and capital of the council. It was defended by 3,000 ships and enough firepower to destroy a small fleet. "We attack here. We break their fleet. We prove that nowhere is safe if they continue this war." Commander Park looked shocked. "Admiral, that's their homeworld. They'll fight to the death defending it. We could lose everything." "Maybe," Kang agreed. The Kuiper Belt had always been cold and dark, far beyond the orbit of Neptune. For 15 years, humanity had been building something out there in secret. Giant shipyards hidden among asteroids and ice, powered by fusion reactors that were shielded from detection. Thousands of workers had lived in those hidden stations, building the fleet that would change everything. Admiral Kang Tae stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Resilient. Around him, holographic displays showed 1,200 warships powering up for the first time. They had been waiting, silent and dark, for this moment. Each ship was equipped with technology that the Council didn't know humans possessed. Commander Park Day had managed to download data from the ancient structure before the Vethrani attack. Human engineers had spent months studying it, Combining alien tech with human innovations, the results were impressive. Shield systems that could take incredible damage, weapons that could punch through council armor, engines that could push ships to speeds that would kill most alien crews from the Force alone. But humans had evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every day. They were built to survive high gravity, rapid acceleration, and extreme stress. What would kill an alien crew was just uncomfortable for humans. Captain Lee Hyun walked through his new ship, the Indomitable Mark II. It was larger than the original, bristling with weapons and armor. His crew was young but eager. They had all volunteered, knowing this might be a one-way mission. They didn't care. They were tired of being called inferior. "All systems green, Captain," his second officer reported. Lieutenant Han Rin was a brilliant pilot who had scored highest in her class at the academy. She was also angry. Her brother had been on the colony ship that was denied docking. He had survived, but barely. "Weapons ready. Shields at full power. We're ready to show these aliens what humans can do." Hyun smiled. "Not yet. First the Admiral makes his speech." On Earth, Dr. Yoon Hai watched from the Council Liaison Office. She had resigned her position as representative. There was no point anymore. Ambassador Sora stood beside her, along with dozens of diplomatic staff who had spent years trying to make peace work. They had all failed, but not because they didn't try hard enough. They had failed because the Council never intended to treat humans as equals. Admiral Kang's face appeared on every screen across human space. He wore his full military uniform with its battle ribbons and medals. His scarred face showed no emotion, but his eyes burned with determination. "People of Earth, humans across the colonies and stations, today we send a message to the Galactic Council. For 50 years we have tried to earn their respect through peaceful means. We followed their rules. We contributed to their projects. We made important discoveries and shared them freely. And how did they respond? With mockery, with restrictions, with murder." The Admiral's hands gripped the podium. "They called us primitives. They called us lucky. They forgot what made us survive on a world that wanted us dead every single day. We are not lucky. We are strong. We are resilient. We are survivors. And we are done asking for permission to exist as equals." Behind him, the holographic display showed the fleet. 1,200 warships, each one bristling with weapons. The image was being broadcast on every council frequency, forcing aliens across the galaxy to watch. The Vethrani believe they are superior because they are old, because their civilization has existed for thousands of years. But age does not equal wisdom. Power does not equal right. They have grown soft and arrogant, believing no one would dare challenge them. Today we teach them a lesson our world taught us long ago. The strong survive not because they are cruel, but because they are willing to fight for their future. Kang's voice grew harder. "We do not seek conquest. We do not want to rule over others. We want only what should have been given freely. Respect. Freedom. The right to determine our own future. If the Council will not grant these things, then we will take them. This is not a request. This is a declaration. Humanity will no longer bow." The Vethrani wanted to see what Deathworlders can do. Now they will learn. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, billions of aliens watched in shock. The Vethrani High Council met in emergency session. They were outraged and terrified. 1,200 ships was a significant fleet, but they had 8,000 warships. The numbers were on their side. The High Speaker addressed the Council with confidence. "This rebellion will be crushed in days. Send our fleet to the Arcturus Junction. We will destroy their forces and remind the galaxy why the Vethrani lead. Make an example of them. Show every species what happens to those who challenge our authority." 400 Vethrani warships moved to intercept the human fleet at Arcturus. It was a key hyperlane junction that connected dozens of trade routes. The Vethrani commander was confident. 400 ships against the 300 humans had sent to meet them. Easy victory. Captain Lee Hyun sat in his command chair as the enemy fleet appeared on sensors. His tactical officer called out distances and numbers. 300 human ships against 400 alien ones. By Council standards, this was a minor skirmish. By human standards, this was where they proved everything. "All ships, this is Commodore Hyun," he transmitted. The promotion had come minutes before launch. "Remember your training. Remember why we're here. These aliens think we're weak because we haven't fought back. They think our restraint was fear. Show them what human restraint actually means. Show them we weren't afraid to fight. We were giving them a chance to do the right thing. They refused. Now they faced the consequences. The Vethrani fleet opened fire first. Brilliant beams of energy lanced across space, striking human shields. The shields held. Human ships accelerated forward at speeds that should have been impossible. The Vethrani ships tried to match the acceleration, but their crews couldn't handle the force. Inside those alien ships, crew members were passing out or being crushed against their stations. Human crews felt the pressure but kept working. Their bodies, evolved on a high-gravity world, could handle what was killing the enemy. It was an advantage no one had really understood until now. Hune's fleet spread out in a pattern that looked chaotic to the Vethrani. They were used to organized, predictable battles. Humans fought differently. They had learned warfare in the jungles and deserts of Earth, where survival meant adapting instantly to changing situations. Human missiles streaked through space, each one guided by AI systems that predicted enemy movements. Human energy weapons, powered by advanced reactors, cut through Vethrani shields like they weren't there. And when human ships took damage, they didn't retreat. They kept fighting. The Vethrani commander couldn't believe what he was seeing. His ships were being torn apart. He ordered a retreat, but it was too late. Human fighters, small and fast, were already among his fleet. They moved like insects, impossible to target, striking weak points with precision. Lieutenant Han Rin flew her fighter through a gap in a Vethrani destroyer's shields. She fired once, directly into the engine core. The ship exploded. She was already moving to her next target, her reflexes faster than any alien could match. The battle lasted 17 minutes. When it was over, 200 Vethrani ships were destroyed or disabled. 15 human ships were lost. The Vethrani commander surrendered, his voice shaking with fear and disbelief. Across the galaxy, species watched the footage in stunned silence. The humans had won decisively against superior numbers. It shouldn't have been possible. But it had happened. Admiral Kang received the reports with satisfaction. But he didn't celebrate. This was only the beginning. The Vethrani would come back with more ships, more fury. Humanity had drawn first blood, but the real war was just starting. Send strike forces to these coordinates, he ordered, highlighting 12 different locations on the tactical map. We don't give them time to recover. We hit them everywhere at once. Show them that humanity doesn't just fight, we wage war. The human fleet split up and jumped to hyperspace, heading for Vethrani installations across 4 sectors. The galaxy had seen humanity's restraint for 50 years. Now they would see what happened when Deathworlders decided to fight back. Admiral Kang Tae stood before the massive viewing screen in the command center. His hands were clasped behind his back as he watched the live broadcast from the Galactic Council chambers. 50 years. 50 long years since humanity had joined this so-called enlightened community of spacefaring species. 50 years of being treated like children who didn't know their place. The council chamber was enormous, a circular room that could hold representatives from 200 worlds. Each species had their own section with seats designed for their unique bodies. Some were tall and thin. Others were short and wide. A few floated in special tanks filled with liquid, but all of them looked down on the human section with the same expression: disgust. Dr. Yoon Hai sat in the human representative seat. She was a brilliant woman who had spent 20 years trying to make the aliens respect humanity. Her hair had turned gray from the stress. Today she was presenting humanity's request to expand their military fleet and access new trade routes. It was a reasonable request. Other species with smaller populations had been granted the same rights. The Vethrani High Speaker rose from his elevated platform. He was tall, nearly 8 feet, with smooth blue skin and large black eyes. His species had ruled the council for thousands of years. They considered themselves the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Request denied, the speaker said. His voice echoed through the chamber. Humanity lacks the maturity for such privileges. Hay stood up quickly. High Speaker, we have followed every rule. We have contributed to council projects. Our scientists have made important discoveries. Why are we being treated differently? The speaker made a sound that might have been a laugh. Several other aliens joined in. Dr. Hay, your species comes from what we classify as a death world. Your planet has gravity 40% higher than standard. Your air would corrode the lungs of most species here. Your oceans are filled with creatures that would terrify our children. You evolved as predators, as killers. That you developed technology at all is surprising. We are more than our origins, Hay replied. Her voice stayed calm, but her hands were shaking. We have proven ourselves peaceful members of this council. Peaceful? Another representative stood up. She was from the Talnik species with gray skin and 4 arms. Your planet's history is filled with wars. You killed millions of your own kind before you even left your world. We have records of your weapons, your bombs, your horrific conflicts. You call that peaceful? The chamber filled with approving sounds from dozens of species. Hay looked around at the sea of alien faces, all looking at her with contempt. The high speaker raised one long hand for silence. Humanity exists in this council because we allow it. You should be grateful we saved you from destroying yourselves. You should be grateful we share our technology with you. You should be grateful we permit you to exist among your betters. Request denied. This session is concluded. The screen went dark. Admiral Kang Tae turned away, his jaw tight with anger. Around him in the command center, other officers were cursing and hitting their consoles. Captain Lee Hyun, one of the youngest ship commanders in the fleet, threw his tablet across the room. Betters? Hyun shouted. They call themselves our betters? We could take half their fleet apart with our bare hands. Control yourself, Captain, Kang said quietly, but he felt the same rage burning in his chest. Ambassador Choi Sora entered the room. She was older than all of them, a woman who had been negotiating with aliens since first contact. Her face looked tired. It's being broadcast everywhere. Every council world is showing the highlights. They're laughing at us. Kang pulled up another screen. It showed alien entertainment networks. They were playing the clip of the high speaker calling humanity a charity case. Alien hosts were making jokes. Computer-generated images showed humans as stupid, clumsy creatures. One show had created a cartoon where humans were pets being trained by wise aliens. Turn it off, Kang ordered, but Sora shook her head. No, everyone needs to see this. Every human on every colony and station needs to see exactly how they view us. She was right. Within hours, the broadcast had reached all of human space. 3 billion people on Earth watched. Another billion in various colonies and stations saw it. The reaction was swift and angry. Protests broke out in major cities. Human workers on alien stations walked off their jobs. Ships refused to transport alien goods. The Earth government called an emergency session. Kang was summoned to appear before them along with other military leaders. Dr. Hay returned from the council, looking defeated. Ambassador Sora gathered intelligence reports showing just how bad things had become. Over the next 3 months, the situation got worse. Human merchant ships were stopped and searched by alien patrol vessels almost daily. The inspections took hours and cost companies millions. A human colony ship carrying 5,000 people to a new world was denied emergency docking at a Vethrani station when their life support began failing. By the time they reached another station, 37 people had died. The council issued an apology but no punishment for the station commander who had refused them. Human athletes were banned from the Galactic Games. The official reason was biological advantages due to evolution on a high-gravity world. The real reason was that humans had won too many medals and made alien athletes look weak. Human art was mocked. Human music was called primitive noise. Human food was considered disgusting. Every aspect of human culture was ridiculed on alien networks. And through it all, the council did nothing to stop it. Captain Hyun's ship, the Indomitable, was on patrol near the edge of human space when they received a distress call. It was from Commander Park Day, leading an exploration mission on the vessel Pioneer. Park's voice came through filled with static and panic. This is Commander Park to any human vessel. We've made a discovery, an ancient alien structure abandoned for thousands of years. The technology inside is incredible. Advanced weapons, power systems, things beyond anything the Council has. But the Vethrani are here. They're claiming the structure belongs to them under some law about superior species. We refuse to leave. Admiral, they're opening fire. They're actually firing on us without warning. This is murder. The transmission cut off. Hyun immediately set course for Park's location, but it would take hours to reach them. When they finally arrived, they found the Pioneer heavily damaged and drifting. The crew had managed to activate emergency systems and survive, but 40 people were dead. The Vethrani fleet was gone, along with the ancient structure. They had attached gravity drives and simply towed it away. Park was injured but alive. He looked at Hyun with fury in his eyes. They tried to erase us. If we had been any other species, if our ships weren't built to take punishment, we would all be dead. They were going to kill us all and claim they found an empty ship. This was attempted genocide for a salvage claim. The news reached Earth within a day. The planet exploded with rage. Millions took to the streets demanding action. The government couldn't ignore it anymore. An emergency vote was called. Should humanity respond with force? Admiral Kang sat in the war room with his senior staff. Dr. Hay was there along with Ambassador Sora. For the first time, even Hai looked ready to fight. 50 years. She said softly. 50 years I believed patience would win their respect. I was wrong. They see patience as weakness. They see restraint as fear. The vote came in. 89% of Earth's government approved military action. The colonies voted even higher. Humanity was done asking for respect. Admiral Kang looked at his officers and nodded. Send the signal, he ordered. Activate all hidden shipyards. Bring the fleet online. It's time to show them what Deathworlders really are.